Guys, welcome back again. For those of you who are just joining me newly, my name is Kelechi, and I hope you learn from whatever it is that I've shared thus far and what I will be sharing tonight. So just sit back and enjoy. Tonight I'm going to be talking about a topic that I think is very important for those of us, or just for anyone who is just trying to walk out this journey, you know, of life with all its ups and downs and craziness, and walking it out the right way with God. And that is the topic of surrender. Now, I feel like this can apply to anyone, no matter where you are currently. You could be a new believer trying to figure things out, or you could be one who has been walking faithfully, just trusting God for provision and, responding to His call on your life, but yet not fully seeing the manifestation of everything that He has said to you. And you could be, at a point where you are dealing with some fatigue. Or you could be someone who is currently, living life on your own terms, but having your life fall apart in front of you. Whatever the case may be, I think that surrender is one of those things that we have to constantly apply in our lives for us to experience the fullness of what God has for us. So first, let's look at what surrender means, right? And surrender is the act of yielding control of something to someone else. And that is so counterintuitive to what we do as humans. We want control of everything. We want to know when, how, what, you name it, we want to know. And it's very different from what God asks of us. He wants us to give Him all of this. He wants us to let go of control. So how do we merge this gap, right? And that is where the challenge usually comes in, because it's not something that we generally want to do. It's not something that comes easy to us. And let's look at King David. King David was a man who was no stranger to difficult situations. He was no stranger to, attacks. He was no stranger to the cares of life just coming at him head on, fast. And he also wasn't a stranger to making mistakes. I mean, he was the same man who was lusting after his soldier's wife and proceeded to murder the soldier just to get him out of the way. So he was just, your regular guy, right? But King David was also one who modeled surrender. He showed us what it looks like to live a life surrendered to God. I was reading Psalm 32, and in that psalm he talks about how every time he lived his life on his own terms, every time he lived his life according to his own way, his life was filled with misery and frustration and pain, because God's hand of conviction was so heavy on him. And that whenever he came into agreement with God, whenever he, acknowledged whatever sin was in the way, whenever he just allowed God's way to be the only way in his life, he experienced God's love and goodness. That is Psalms 32. I think that is one of the best chapters in the Psalms. I think it's one of my favorite. There's just so much in there to learn from. But in watching how David handled himself, we can see how to handle ourselves when it comes to leaning into God's ways, especially in difficult situations, because that is usually when we have a hard time saying, God, you know what, just have your way, take control. So what does this look like practically for us? How do we apply this in our life, real time? For us, that would just mean, coming to God and being very transparent with Him. Telling Him about how we feel, telling Him about our thoughts, bringing everything in our lives to Him. That is a first step in, taking our hands off the reins of our lives, is to make it a habit of bringing everything to Him constantly. And also when we're faced with difficult situations, instead of pushing to get out of it, because we all know going through a process sucks. Sometimes it just sucks. It does. It's difficult. It's painful. Sometimes it could take like a long time, and it's just not ideal. It's not ideal. It's never ideal. But if we are able to say to God, okay, you know what? I really don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand why things are happening the way they are. But I know that you are, Lord, intentional. I know that you have said all these things in your word about who you are. And I'm choosing to believe you. And so I'm choosing to do things your way, even if it doesn't make sense all the time. And that is how we start to surrender. That is how we let go of what we want, let go of the timing, let go of how things should look or shouldn't look, is by saying to God, you know what, show me what I need to learn. Teach me what I need to learn. Allow me to see what I need to see, so that I can move how you want me to move. Right? And surrender is one of those things that has a number of different applications. I'm telling you, as I've been learning, there's so much depth to what it means to surrender. But I think that it just starts with understanding that we don't know it all. We don't have it all. We really don't have any control of anything, because at the end of the day, His plans will reign supreme. And so it's in acknowledging that, and then just trusting Him to lead us every step of the way, even when things are, not necessarily looking how we want them to look, if that makes sense. So I just, if right now you find yourself in a space where you don't know what direction to take, you're not sure what's happening, or you feel like life is so unpredictable for you currently, my charge to you right now would be to just allow God be God. Stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to understand, because sometimes you may not understand, or sometimes you're not even supposed to understand. And just allow God be God. I hope that blessed you guys tonight, and I'll see you all next time.